I know the day I became wealthy, because I was thinking towards the end of the book, what was the day that I became a wealthy man? And I was broke. I was living in Venice, not Venice, Italy, Venice, LA, in this 400 square foot bachelor apartment. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was mad at the world. I was mad at a friend of mine that I loaned, $1,000 to, and he didn't pay me back, and he wouldn't return my phone calls because I was broke. I mean, I was down to, I don't know, 23, 24 bucks, something like that, and some change. No prospects. I'm like, how am I gonna eat? How am I gonna survive? I'm gonna pay my rent. I was already behind my rent by 30 days. And when I was 17, my mom kicked my dad out. He went back east and kicked me out, and I survived by scratching up enough money each day and then going to the smorgasbord and like loading up for the winter, just eating all I could to make it last a day or two. And I thought, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. And I walked, because I didn't want to take my car and the gas or pay for parking. Didn't have that kind of money. And I walked 3-4 miles from Venice to this place in Marina del Rey. It's still there. And it's called El Torito. It's this little Mexican restaurant that's on the water where all the, the amazing yachts are. And I thought, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna absorb this abundance environment because I'm so scarce. And I'm gonna eat all I can possibly eat, for $5.95 of this tacos and salad.
Incredibly healthy, energizing.
Of course, totally energizing. Like something I can go have a good sleep afterwards and forget all this, right? And I went in, I loaded up for winter, and I ate all the stuff, and I'm looking out there, and it was a beautiful day, and it was gorgeous. And so I got up to go pay, and as I got to go pay, in the front door walks this little boy, probably 8 years old, and 7, 8 years old. And he was dressed in a suit, and he's just like, kind of demure like you right now.
If anything, I am certainly demure, as you well know.
That's I well know. But sincerely, he was just really, I don't know, there was something about this kid. He had this air about him, and he opened the door for his mother, and he pulled the chair out for her. And I don't know, something about it just struck me emotionally very deeply. And I was just touched, thinking, this little boy has got so much heart and class. And so I walked up to him. I paid my bill and walked up to him, and I said hi, and I introduced myself, and I was nobody. He was who the hell's Tony Robbins? No Tony Robbins. And he says,
who is this gigantic?
Yeah, that's what he's really thinking is not there. And I said, I just want to tell you, I watched you for the last few minutes. I said, I watched you open the door for you later. I saw you pull out the chair. I saw the way you looking in her eyes and giving her full attention. I said, you are a class act. And he looked at me, and I said, and taking her lunch, that's awesome. He goes, well, she's my mom. And I said, that's even more cool. And he said, well, I'm not taking a lunch because I don't have a job yet, I'm 8, And I looked at him, I said, yes, you are. And I didn't have any plan. I just reached in my pocket, took all the money I had in the world. It was like $19 and some change, whatever was left after that. And I just slapped down in front of him on the table. And he looked up at me, his eyes got big as garbage can covers. He goes, what's that? And he smiled. I said, that's yours. He goes, I can't take that. And I said, yes, you can. He said, how come? I said, because I'm bigger than you are. And then I didn't say another word.
Every time.
I didn't say another word. I just turned. I didn't even look at his mom. I wasn't doing it for attention. And I walked out that door. And I didn't walk out that door. I flew out of that door, man. I had no car. I was walking home, I just felt like so alive. I felt so free. And I should have been scared shitless. I got no money. I don't know where I'm gonna feed myself. You're giving away last minute. There wasn't an ounce of fear in me. It was like in that moment, scarcity died. It just died. It was out of my life. And I went home that night, and I have no clue what I was gonna do, but I was like excited and inspired, and I started writing out this plan, and I thought, well, people fast all the time. I can fast for 4 or 5 days. It's probably good for me.
Meal.
I can eat it after that meal. And I got this little plan in my head, and I'm gonna work it out. And I woke up the next morning, and I had no fear in me, and I'm gonna go work my plan, and the old snail mail arrived. And there I get this old envelope in the old days, right? Tear the thing open, and it's a check from the guy who wouldn't even return my phone call for more than $1,000, either some interest in, and $1,200 in those days would cover my butt for 2 weeks to a month, right? It was like, and I started to cry. And I'll never forget, I was thinking to myself, what does this mean? And I decided that meant that I was being rewarded for doing what's right, by not operating out of scarcity and fear, it was spontaneous, it was authentic, it felt right, and I did what felt right, and I was rewarded, and I believed in my mind, I still believe to this day, it may not be true, but that was grace. And so from that day forward, it was just do more, give more, share more, create more. And what you need will be there. It's like air. You don't stop to think about when you take a breath whether it'll be there or not. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
You just got to do your part.
I used to sit in this little apartment, and it was a room. As a matter of fact, the room was so small, I remember I was able to open up the window and close the door while sitting on the bed at the same time. It was like 8 feet by 9 feet. But the one thing about that room, there was really very little distraction. So I would sit there propped up in bed, and I'd go out with my big pen and legal pad and just start writing these stories. And most of them were very, very trivial. But there was something about the process of unrealized dreams. I was always brought back to this subject because I think it's one of the most enduring subjects and one of the most difficult passages for people to accept, that they never were realized in their own lifetime, that they just didn't get that shot. Originally, when I brought the script to them, they were fairly enthusiastic about it. The one thing they were not enthusiastic about was me playing the part, and I really can't blame them. At the time, Ryan O'Neal was a candidate, Burt Reynolds, Robert Redford, Jimmy Caan, and they all, were at the top of their game. And so I could see it, but there was something inside of me that this opportunity is never going to come around. And I really wasn't used to money, and I had no idea of what I would be missing. But the temptation started to come forward. First it was 25 grand, then $100,000. I go, well, I never heard of 100,000 because I had like $106 in the bank, and like I said, I had to sell my dog, and things were not looking very, very good. My $40 car had just blown up, so I was taking a bus to work, but still, it didn't matter. I wanted to stick with it. Then it went up to 150,000, 175,000, it went up to 250,000. Now my head was starting to spin. And it went up to 330,000, and probably, I heard it went up to 360,000. And I thought, all right, you've really managed poverty very well. You've got this down to a science. You really don't need much to live on. I had like sort of figured it out. So I was not in any way used to the good life. So I thought, you know what? If I know in the back of my mind, if I sell this script and it does very, very well, I'm going to jump off a building. And if I'm not in it, there's no doubt about it, I'm going to leap in front of a train. I'm going to be very, very upset. So this is one of those things where you just roll the dice and you fly by the proverbial seat of your pants. Say, all right, I got to try it. I got to just do it. I may be totally wrong, and I'm going to be taking a lot of people down with me, but I just believe in it. By the time the movie had done, it was probably about $950,000. It was very, very inexpensive. Many times we had just one take, and that was it. So when the screenings around Hollywood at the time were getting this unusual response, that people were actually reacting to the fight as though the fight were happening, I thought, wow, they're really invested in these characters. And I was starting to get, phone calls from very, very celebrated people around town. I said, wow, this could be it. This actually is going to work. Now, you understand, because I really had no true confidence in it, because I had no film history, no real film knowledge. I was just working from, I guess, instinct. And I was not a filmmaker, and really not as a writer, nothing had ever been produced before, so I didn't know if my writing really worked. Then finally, it was being shown at the Directors Guild, and this was going to be the test. And there was about 900 people invited, and it was a packed crowd, and the movie was playing terribly. My mother was sitting next to me, and the laughs weren't coming where they're supposed to, and the fight itself seemed to be listless, the response was, and I sat there as everyone filed out of the theater, and I couldn't believe it. I said, Ma, I really blew it. It was all like, I don't know, it was nice while it lasted, but I guess when you get down and you show it to the big boys, they're just not buying it. Anyway, I sat there, and literally there was no one left in the theater, because I was humiliated and saddened by the whole thing. And even, I walked her out, and I was walking down the steps, and there's 3 flights down. First flight, second flight, and then by the time I turned for the third flight, the entire audience was down there. There was 900 people waiting, and they started to applaud, and I mean truly applaud. And I said, how could you doubt me, Mom? I'm shocked.
I teach a program, it's an advanced coaching and mentoring program to business owners. And I tell them that if you come and work with me for 1 year, I will show you how to double your income and double your time off within 12 months. And then what I do is I front-end load the first day of coaching so that they double their income within 30 days. Everybody does it. It's very simple. I hand them out a spiral notebook, like a school notebook, and I say, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to write down 10 goals that you'd like to accomplish in the next 12 months. Write them in the present tense as though they are already a reality. Not I will earn, but I earn. And then at the end of it, write by and have a due date. I earn this amount by this date. I weigh this number of kilos or pounds by this date. I achieve this goal by this date. Now, when you write it down, you engage in what is called a psychoneuromotor activity, which is a 50-cent word, as we say. It's a big word. But what it means is that you see it when you're writing it, you sub-vocalize when you are speaking, you kinesthetically write it, and by doing the handwriting, you actually program it into the hard drive of your subconscious mind. And I've had people do this exercise once, and a year later, they found that list of goals, and they were astonished to find that 8 of the 10 goals had been achieved. I spoke to a gentleman recently, remarkable story. He said, after he had gone through my seminar, and he heard me say, write down 101 goals that you want to accomplish in your lifetime. Well, he was about 24, he was struggling, he was poor, he had a used car, no money, unmarried, single, so on. So he went home that weekend, he got a spiral notebook, he wrote down 101 goals. Now 12 years later, I'm coming back to the same city, Atlanta, Georgia. And so he came to my seminar, and he said, I have to talk to you. He said, because 2 weeks ago, I was going through my papers, and I found that notebook. And I said, there's that notebook I wrote so many years ago. And he took it out, and he said, I wonder how I did. And so he began looking, and he took out a pen, and he began ticking off the 101 goals. So, yes, I achieved that, and I achieved that, and I achieved that. He said, Brian, and he started to cry. He started to shake. He said, Brian, I had achieved all 101 goals in 12 years. One of my goals was to marry a beautiful woman, which I did. To have children, which I did. To start my own business, which I did. To become a millionaire, which I am today. To own a new Mercedes, which I have. To put my children in private schools, which I did. To travel around the world, to learn a language, to sing a song, to learn to speak. He said it was unbelievable. He said, not 100, 101 goals had been achieved in 12 years. He said, and it was overwhelming to him. He could not believe it because I had told him, if you write them down, it's like programming them into your subconscious mind, where they then begin to work 24 hours a day while you're doing other things.
It came out of you early on falling in love with film.
Well, that's the most important thing that I think.
To love the business.
You have to. You have to. You know,
there's nothing else. You don't know what you'd do if you weren't in film.
No, I never set up a situation. I never set up a fallback situation because I didn't want to fall back. You know, I wanted to have to keep eating at it. You know, and actually, that leads me to a point. Let me say this point and then get back to your question. Okay, if there's one thing that I've done that I'm like the proudest of everything, all right, is the fact that people talk about, wow, you've had such success and it's just been so overnight and whatever. Well, whatever success I've got has come after like 8 years of just nothing working out as trying to get a job in
films.
films.
What didn't work out?
Well, it's like basically what I tried to do
Give
was,
some sense of rejection.
Well, what happened basically was I had tried to make a film. It's at around 22, 23. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to make a film.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right? And I'm going to make, you know, I had actually met a few different directors by saying I was going to write a book and wanted to interview them. All right? And so I ended up like talking to them, and they all said that they had made their first films by the time they were 30, or around 30 years old is when they made their first film. So I thought, well, okay, well, I'm going to beat that. I'm going to make my first film at the time I'm 26. And that was my thing. All right, 26. So I started making this movie. I just I came up with the idea for a short film that I was going to shoot. I was going to shoot it on Super 8, then I ended up getting somebody's 16mm camera. I was going to shoot it that way. And then I shot on it for like about a couple of weekends. I thought, well, hell, film's kind of cheap and everything like that. Why don't I just shoot it like a feature? And this was before She's Gotta Have It, all right? It was like after Stranger Than Paradise, but before She's Gotta Have It. And so I just started shooting it that way. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make a feature. I'm going to make a 16mm feature, black and white, and it'll be cool. So I ended up working for like 3 years on this movie, and this was going to be my feature, and I was financing it from working at a video store. So what means was like I would like get like $200 or so, and then we'd go off and shoot for the weekend, and then we'd run out of money, and then I would like go back to work again, and then like eventually I would just keep piecing it together. And what you would do is when you'd rent equipment from a rental house, if you rent it on Friday, you have it all weekend. It's kind of this one-day rental, and you have to return it Monday morning. So you would just shoot burn your. I mean, you would just like get old before your time trying to like shoot all weekend long and give the stuff back. I had so little money that I couldn't even process this footage. All right, that I was in. That's way too expensive. All right, so eventually, I ended up after like about 3 years, I ended up like starting processing some of the footage and starting seeing exactly what I had. And guess what? What? I did not have at all what I thought I had. All right, it was.
How was it different?
It was amateurish. Yeah. It was really, and not in a charming way either. And,
it had no charm.
No charm at all. All right, and the thing is,
no one said, "Isn't that cute?"
No. It wasn't like that. Now, there were good things about it. All right, I mean, you could tell I made it. Yeah. People who knew me could look at, well, that's a Quentin movie.
That. Yeah,
that has my spirit.
You've had that
has
from
my
day one then.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, it was like this was going to be the thing that like set me up, all right? And I'd worked 3 years on it, and I was able to look at it in a realistic way after being horribly depressed for a little bit, but only a short little bit. Was the fact that, well, this was my film school. All right, and this was the best film school a person could possibly have. I mean, I actually, instead of like going to school and paying a ton of money to be allowed to use some of their crappy equipment, all right, I actually went out and actually tried to make a feature film. All right, now I failed. It was guitar picks when I was finished. But when I looked at the footage, now all the stuff I did the first year, which was all the story stuff, all right, sucked. All right, but the stuff that I did like the last couple of months, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
So you got to look at your dreams and goals, and if you've been running into a wall, it doesn't mean that you can't get through. It means that you need to find someone who's on the other side, or find someone who knows someone who's on the other side. I wanted to be on the Robert Schuller program. When I saw Dr. Norman Vincent Peale when he was alive and he was interviewed, I said, I'm going to be on the Robert Schuller program. I called them. Hi, my name is Les Brown. I'd like to be interviewed by Dr. Schuller. Do you have a book? No, I don't. Well, have you done anything of any national significance? No, I haven't. Are you known well? No, but if you bring me on, I'm a good guess, I will become known then. That's the idea. I'm sorry, we're not in the business of making people celebrities. When you write a book or do something of some national consequence, let us know. It's no guarantee, but let us know. I said, okay. Remember, I said, you got to have passion and drive, and you've got to have persistence and perseverance and people and projects. What do you mean projects? Well, that was a big deal to be on Robert Schuller's program. How do we discover our greatness? By upgrading our relationships and by having goals that's beyond our comfort zone. Why? Because it causes you to reinvent yourself. Brian Tracy calls it the danger zone. You want to do something you've never done. So being on his program was a big deal for me. I kept telling people with conviction, I'm going to be on the Robert Schuller show. When? I'm not exactly sure. Do you know Robert Schuller? No, I don't. Do you know anyone who knows Robert Schuller? No, I don't. I was persistent. I continued to persevere. Here's something. Write this down. Next P. Powered by you. You got an idea? You have a dream? Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to take responsibility to make it happen. Your dream, your life going to the next level will be powered by you. Don't put your destiny in anybody's hand. Nobody's going to care more about your dream than you. Nobody. Nobody's going to work on your stuff more than you. So I continued to tell people, One weekend, a Saturday evening, I was flying from Detroit to Chicago. Maybe about 5 passengers on board. I'm sitting next to a guy. I introduce myself to him, named Lafayette Jones. Hi, my name is Les Brown. Hi, I'm Lafayette Jones. Well, guess what, man? What? I'm going to be on the Robert Schuller program. Is that right? When? I'm not exactly sure. You know anybody who knows Robert Schuller? He said, yes. I said, who? Well, Mr. Johnson, that I work for. You're kidding. How does he know him? He donated $1 million to his ministry. You are kidding. I would like to meet him. What do? I'm a speaker. You gotta be kidding. Why? Because, man, our speaker canceled. Can you speak at a program? Yes. Will Mr. Johnson be there? Yes. Whoa. How much do you charge? Well, at that time, I did not know. I said, well, how much have you allocated? Well, all we have is $5,000. Well, for the first time, that'll do. Whoa! I came, I spoke, got a standing ovation. Mr. Johnson was seated to my right. He stood up. He said, young man, I've never heard of you. You were phenomenal. He said, if I can ever do anything for you, please let me know. I said, do you know Robert Schuller? He said, yes, Bob is a very good friend of mine. I donated $1 million to his ministry. I said, I want to be on his program. He said, don't worry about it. I have him call you. 2 weeks later, I'm in the riverfront apartment over here, downtown Detroit. I get a call at night. Hello, this is Robert Schuller. May I speak to Les Brown, please? I said, this is a joke, come on. No, this is Robert Schuller. I'd like to speak to Les Brown. This Les Brown? I said, yes, but hold a minute, I got to go to the bathroom. When I get excited, I got to go. I came back, I said, just a minute. I said, hello, how are you? He said, great. My friend Bob Johnson called and he said, you want to be on the program? I said, yes, sir. He said, no problem. I'll have my staff call you and we'll bring you on. I was on 3 different times. I know it works. You got to keep those 5 P's. Your life is powered by you. Give your dream a round of applause. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.